In 1999, Blockbuster had 9,000 stores, 84,000 employees, and 60 million card-holding members. On a Friday night in America, 1 in 5 households went to Blockbuster. Not because they had to, because it was the thing families did. The browsing, the argument over what to rent, the late fees everyone complained about but kept paying. Blockbuster was woven into American life in a way that no algorithm has since replicated. By 2010, it was bankrupt. Most people think they know why. Netflix, streaming. The future arrived, and Blockbuster missed it. That explanation is not wrong, but it is incomplete. In 2006, Blockbuster Online was growing faster than Netflix. It was taking subscribers from them. The company wasn't losing, it was winning. There is a shareholder letter written in 2007 by a man who never worked a single day at Blockbuster that changed all of that. When you read what that letter said, and what it cost 84,000 people, you'll understand why this isn't a story about the future arriving too fast. We'll get there. Blockbuster Video was founded in 1985 by David Cook in Dallas, Texas. Cook had built a database software company and applied the same logic to video rental, a large, well-organized store with computerized inventory tracking. At a time when most video rental was done at small independent stores with limited selection and paper records, Blockbuster offered scale, selection, and reliability. The model worked immediately, but it was Wayne Huizenga, the entrepreneur who had already built waste management into a national company and would later build AutoNation, who turned Blockbuster from a promising chain into a national institution. Huizenga acquired Blockbuster in 1987 and drove an aggressive expansion. New stores every week, new markets, new countries. By the early 1990s, Blockbuster was the largest video rental chain in the world. The business had been built on the VHS to DVD format transition. As home video became a mass market, Blockbuster sat at the center of it. Viacom, under Sumner Redstone, acquired it in 1994 for approximately $8.4 billion. At its peak, Blockbuster operated more than 9,000 stores across the United States and locations in more than 25 countries. The blue and gold sign was a fixture of American commercial strips. The act of going to Blockbuster was a cultural ritual. The drive, the argument over what to rent, the late fees. Those late fees. We'll come back to those. The business that generated late fees also generated the customer resentment that would make Reed Hastings's Netflix pitch viable. But before Netflix became the story everyone tells, there was a period when Blockbuster was fighting and winning. And the man running that fight deserves to be named before we talk about the man who stopped him. In 2004, Viacom spun Blockbuster off as a separate public company, loading it with approximately $1 billion in debt. Every dollar Blockbuster earned from that point forward had to service those interest payments before it could go anywhere else. Before any of that, in 2000, Blockbuster had been offered a different path entirely. Reed Hastings and co-founder Mark Randolph approached Blockbuster about an acquisition. Netflix was young, burning cash, and struggling. The asking price was approximately $50 million. Blockbuster's executives passed. They reportedly laughed. That $50 million was exit number 1. There were 2 more. John Antioco was Blockbuster's CEO. By 2004, he understood that the company's future required 2 things: eliminating the late fees driving customers away, and building an online subscription service that could compete with Netflix directly. First, No More Late Fees, launched in January 2005. The program eliminated one of the primary reasons customers had stopped going to Blockbuster, and one of the primary selling points of Netflix's subscription model. The cost was approximately $400 million in annual revenue from late fee charges. The benefit was customers returning who had avoided the stores for years. Second, Blockbuster Online. The subscription service added a feature Netflix could not match: in-store exchanges. Subscribers could return their mailed DVDs to any Blockbuster store and get a free in-store rental immediately, rather than waiting for the next mail delivery. The physical store network, the thing everyone said was a liability, was being turned into a competitive advantage. This hybrid model was called total access. For a window of time, it worked. Blockbuster Online was adding subscribers faster than Netflix. That was exit number 2, a viable path forward, fully operational, actively taking market share from the competitor everyone said was unbeatable. Then a shareholder got involved. Carl Icahn had accumulated approximately 11% of Blockbuster's stock by 2005 for a reported cost of approximately $84 million. He was unhappy with two things: the No More Late Fees program, which he believed was too expensive, and Antioco's compensation, which he believed was too high. Icahn mounted a proxy fight. In 2005, he ran candidates for Blockbuster's board and won 3 seats. The significance of those seats was not just the votes. It was what the win communicated to the rest of the board about which direction the company was going to move. From that point, every strategic decision Antioco made had to clear a board that had just sided with a shareholder who had publicly called the strategy reckless. The primary point of conflict was documented. Blockbuster's independent advisors reviewed total access performance data and confirmed it was working. Subscriber additions were outpacing Netflix. Antioco presented that data to the board. His position was clear: the short-term losses were the cost of a fight the company was winning. Icahn's position was also clear: the losses were unacceptable regardless of what the subscriber numbers showed. The board, under Icahn's influence, cut Antioco's bonus as a mechanism to force his departure. In 2007, Antioco resigned. Blockbuster had known, for months, that its online service was outpacing Netflix in subscriber additions. The employees staffing those 9,000 stores found out the strategy had been killed when the new CEO announced the reversal. That is the knowledge gap in this story. The people who made the decision had the performance data. The people who lost their jobs did not get to weigh in on it. Jim Keyes, the replacement CEO, reversed total access. He scaled back the online investment and returned focus to the retail store model. In a 2008 interview, Keyes said, "I've been frankly confused by this fascination that everybody has with Netflix. Netflix doesn't really have or do anything that we can't or don't already do ourselves." Netflix, freed from its most effective competition, resumed its subscriber growth. By the end of 2008, Netflix had approximately 9.5 million subscribers. Blockbuster's online base was declining. Exit number 3. The streaming pivot window that Blockbuster's store infrastructure could have anchored, closed with it. Here's what makes the Blockbuster story genuinely strange. The late fee revenue Icahn was protecting was also the primary argument for Netflix. Every customer who had ever paid a Blockbuster late fee had a reason to try Netflix. Netflix's original marketing was built around not having them. Antioco had identified this problem and was correcting it. Icahn identified the cost of correcting it and chose to protect the revenue instead. The revenue that was funding his shareholder returns was simultaneously the competitive weapon Netflix had used to build its subscriber base. By the time Keyes had reversed total access, Blockbuster was being squeezed from 3 directions: Netflix on streaming, Redbox on dollar-per-night kiosk rentals, and its own debt load eating the cash that could have funded a response to either. Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 in September 2010. It carried approximately $900 million in debt. Dish Network acquired the brand out of bankruptcy for approximately $320 million in 2011. The physical stores continued to close. By 2013, all corporate-owned locations had shut. The single remaining franchise in Bend, Oregon survived. It still operates today. People take photographs outside it. David Cook had opened Blockbuster on a simple idea: give people a reliable place to find what they wanted to watch, at a price that made it accessible. Wayne Huizenga had scaled that into 9,000 locations across 25 countries. John Antioco had seen what was coming and built a strategy specifically designed to keep it alive. The Bend store is what's left of all of that. Icahn made approximately $50 million on his Blockbuster investment through share sales before the bankruptcy. The tens of thousands of employees who had staffed those stores did not. They found out their stores were closing when the closing dates were announced. No one was criminally charged in connection with Blockbuster's bankruptcy. Icahn's board intervention, Antioco's departure, and the reversal of total access were all legal actions taken by people with legal authority to take them. Shareholder activism is a protected right. The proxy fight was legal. The board vote was legal. The strategy reversal was legal. The bankruptcy that followed was legal. The 84,000 employees who showed up every Friday night to run those stores were not part of that legal framework in any meaningful way. They were not consulted about the proxy fight. They were not warned that the strategy keeping the company competitive was being defunded. They were downstream of a decision made by a man who owned 11% of the company, believed the losses were too high, collected his $50 million, and was gone before the stores were. That is not disruption, that is extraction. Now, let's talk about this in the comments. Carl Icahn used legitimate shareholder rights to defund a strategy that was working, force out the CEO running it, and install a replacement who reversed it. The company filed for bankruptcy 2 years later. Icahn had already made his money. Should activist shareholders who force strategic changes that lead to bankruptcy face any legal accountability for the employee losses that result? Or is shareholder activism a protected right regardless of outcome? And second, Blockbuster's board sided with Icahn over Antioco's strategy, despite independent evidence that Total Access was taking subscribers from Netflix. What should corporate governance look like for companies facing existential competitive threats? Should boards be required to consider long-term employee impact when evaluating activist shareholder demands? Drop your answer below. Subscribe to Blunder. We cover the collapses they'd rather you forget.